Okay, so I'm going to start this by saying I'm probably going to break this up into parts, and it's probably going to be different parts of the video. So, as if you're watching me, thank you for always watching my channel. Thank you for always tuning in. Um, like I tell you, the things that I talk about and the decks and books and all the stuff that I make and have made, even the clothing I have made, is for me. It's for me, because I'm using it. I'm literally using it and I'm doing it, and I got into a really explosive argument yesterday with someone who I love dearly, and it triggered a lot of stuff that I thought was gone, that I thought I healed from. Everything was good. I'm fine. And I felt like I was sitting in the room with my ex husband. And I don't really talk about him that much, only when it's absolutely relevant, because I don't want to keep that program alive. I want to get past it. And I think in me trying to get past it so fast, people don't understand how much it affected me. I might cry in this I might cry in this video. I might yell, I might do a bunch of stuff. Or I might just be completely okay and just be my fantastic self. But I would feel, I hate the word inauthentic because it's so like the I would feel like a fake bitch. like that's the only way I can explain it to you. I would feel like a fake bitch if I didn't get on here and tell you this part too. If I didn't tell you, yeah, I was not the High Empress yesterday. I was not the High Empress yesterday. I would feel like a fake bitch. You understand? And one thing I don't ever want to do with you, who are my new friends, I don't ever want to be that fake bitch. I don't want to just get on here, love and light, and everything is copacetic. No, bitch, I get mad. I get mad. I am an ox. I was born in 1973. I'm an ox. When I get mad, I get very explosive. I get violent. I try not to. I sit on my hands and all that other stuff. So it's like, I want you to understand I am not perfect. I am flawed, just like you. And I want you to understand that so that you don't believe that I just arrived here. I was just here. No, I struggle the same way you struggle. I have issues the same way you have issues. I may feel and process them differently, and that's what I'm trying to teach you how to process. So I it's now 1 o'clock. I have been processing this since 8 o'clock. I've been processing the fight. Or the argument, because it was never physical. He would never touch me. He would never hurt me. He's a really good friend. He is a really good friend. And I might cry. He's a really good friend. And I haven't had a friend like that ever. And it's like, there's a little girl in me that's terrified that the fight is going to ruin it, and I have to talk to her and be like, hey, you're okay. So those who are dealing with stuff that it's like, you're like, God, I thought I was healed. I thought I was better. I thought that everything was okay. Why am I popping off like this? Why, there I go fucking up another relationship. No, because I'm saying this to myself. No, it's not like that. You do have to enforce your boundaries. You do have to speak your truth. Don't talk behind people's back. If you have an issue with someone, you bring it to them. You tell them that you don't like it. Um, was I it and the argument wasn't about who was right or who was wrong. The argument was about both of us not feeling heard. Like, he felt I wasn't hearing him. And I felt he wasn't hearing me. And we both have wounds around that. So it exploded into not a screaming match, which was very surprising because I was loud, but he was trying to stay as calm as possible because I was losing it. I was losing it. And I still had to pull punches because I would never want to hurt anyone I care about, and I'm a firm believer of whatever comes out your mouth, you meant it. I don't ever want to say to someone, "Oh, um, you know, oh, I was mad, so I said this." No, I'm not like that. That's why after the argument, I was exhausted. I was depleted. I was exhausted because I was pulling punches. You understand? I was pulling punches. I knew a lot of his history. I could have used it. Why would I? Because that's not what winning an argument wasn't my goal. It wasn't my goal. My goal wasn't to win the argument. My goal was to make him understand my boundaries. My goal was to make him understand I was hurt, to make him understand I was overwhelmed, to make him understand how I was feeling, and for him to care. you know um but I believe now, now that I've unpacked it, I believe he was trying to get the same thing from me. He's like, "You're my friend, you're my closest friend, and you're not hearing me right now, and you're not listening to me." And I did 100%. I always tell you what I did as much as what the other person did. I was cutting him the fuck off. Like, I wasn't letting him talk. And the funny thing was, when I unpacked it, I realized what I was doing was what I had to survive with my ex-husband, because my ex-husband is a Gemini, right? My ex-husband is a Gemini, and one thing I noticed or learned with him was you couldn't let him talk, because if he talked, he had a way of manipulating the conversation. He was good at it. When I tell you he was good at it, he was so good at it. I would come, like, I remember when I found out he cheated on me, and it devastated me. But somehow at the end of the conversation, I was comforting him. You see my point? And I was sitting, and then I would go away and be like, "What the fuck just happened?" And I'm sitting there like dumbfounded. I'm still holding on to the pain. I'm still holding on to the unresolved issues. And he's walking around like everything is great. And then it got to a point, once my spirit gifts started kicking in with like hearing spirits and stuff like that, my spirits were like, stop letting him talk. You got to stop letting him talk, because he's manipulating your mind. And I was just like, "Oh shit, is that what's happening?" They're like, "Yes, he's manipulating your mind." So this I told you this video is going to be all over the place. So if this video is for you, you're going to you're going to stay and watch this, and whatever. If I split it up, you'll watch all whatever. But if you're in a conversation with someone and you brought the conversation and you told that person how you're feeling, right? Remember, I'm not talking about my friend. I'm talking about my ex-husband. If you bring it to someone and and collect the data, it's it has to be something that happens on a consistent basis. It's not like one argument and he or she just kind of turned it around, and like, that's just kind of human nature to defend themselves. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a systemic issue that keeps happening, that's ingrained in the relationship. That's what I had. What I had was a person that every time I would bring a grievance or something that I wasn't happy with, or if I was trying to enforce a boundary, he had a way with words that would manipulate my mind into believing he was a victim. And he would use different things and different tactics to make himself the victim. And then I would be the one sitting here apologizing. Kind of like when Dick Cheney shot his friend in the face and his friend went on national television and apologized for being in the way. That's kind of like what my life was like, and I developed a survival mechanism when it came to him that I know starting today, well, not today, yesterday, that I have to fix. Because it's not like, the thing is, it's not about my friend. It's not about my friend. I'm not making this about my friend. I'm making it about what is still in Keisha that needs to get out, that needs a protocol around it, or that needs to be healed. That's where I am right now. It's not like he did this to me and he did that and oh my, I did that. Oh, don't get it twisted. I am not that involved. I had that conversation with Jaden and Michaela and I was just like, wow. But then I started being like, he's my friend and I want him to be safe. I want him to be okay because I love him and I care about him and I want him to feel heard. I don't want to be another person in his life that he feels he can't talk to, because then I know what that feels like. It's a lonely road when you feel that the only person you can talk to is yourself and your spirit squad. And then you need to be able to muscle test, do tarot cards, or do a pendulum in order to hear them sometimes. So I don't want that for him. And it wasn't, it got to a point upstairs yesterday where I was just like, okay, this is not about him. This is about me. This is not about whatever's going on around me. This is about me. And then Jaden was like, well, where you went wrong, because Jaden was doing his absolute best to mediate the argument and he couldn't, because there was too much underlying sadness, hurt. And I'm not just talking about his side. I'm definitely talking about my side. There was a lot of underlying hurt, underlying longing, underlying sadness. There was a lot of shit on top of what was going on. And the thing that had me go, what the fuck? I didn't know those things were there. I didn't know that. I kind of knew because he kept flicking at it. Like, since we became friends, he kept flicking at it. And then we would get into like little tiffs here and there. But this was a really big argument, where it didn't really get resolved. And that bothered me because I don't like unresolved conflict, because unresolved conflict tends to grow for me. And I don't like that. I like to try to get everything wrapped up, but I realize that's another thing I need to work on, because everyone doesn't process information and situations as quickly as I do. Yeah, and that's something that I learned yesterday. Because me, okay, I'm the type of person that if you go, Keisha, I don't like this, it will never happen again. You understand? It won't happen again. And if it does happen again, it's not happening the same way it happened that way. You understand? Because I care about relationships. I care about how the other person feels. I want to make sure the other person feels seen and heard. So if you tell me you don't like something, I just don't do it. It's no skin off my back. I don't do it. I realized yesterday everyone is not like that, and I always felt like either people were like me or they were like my ex-husband. And with my ex-husband, he didn't give a shit. He was going to do what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it, and he didn't care how it affected you. So I always put two people in two categories. Either you care or you don't care, and I realized yesterday talking to Jaden that that's not the case. And you can be with someone who actually genuinely does care. They just don't have the bandwidth. They don't have the skill set. They don't have the emotional intelligence to be able to pivot as fast as I do, because my pivot game is legendary. You understand? So, plus for me, I get to practice this every day because I'm a parent, because and because I'm a business person. I have businesses, and where I work. You understand? So where I work, I'm constantly solving problems. I'm constantly solving issues. I'm constantly connecting this person with this person. I'm learning how to talk to this person who's like 5 pay scales above me. And I know how to talk to a person who's 5 pay scales below me. So I know how to manage stuff. And what happens is I think that everyone is like me. And I'm slowly starting to realize I'm very unique in a lot of ways. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize that people don't process shit that quick. I didn't realize that when people are like, I'm trying, it's not the same as my ex-husband when he said he was trying. Because he said he was trying and I gave him 18 years to get it right, and it still was the same thing, and I realize that I am taking a lot of that relationship and making it the blanket, and that's not good. And like I told you, I'm not a fake bitch. I'm going to tell you where I'm wrong, because I can't fix the other person. I can only fix and heal what's in me and what I need to do. So if you get into an argument with someone, I don't want you to sit there and be like, he did this, she did this, da, 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 and keep pointing the finger, right? Oh, you can, because you got to get it out. Because if you don't get it out and dig it out, you won't get to where the real wound is. And I knew that. So if I just sat here and made it about my friend and like, oh my God, they're just this and that, and oh my God, if I just made it about them, I would not grow. I would not grow from the situation. I like, it's crazy because I think I started this series yesterday morning because the night before they said to me that they're trying to teach me how to argue without getting into an argument. Yeah, I failed that test. So that first test, I got an F, well, D minus, so now now my spirits are like, you actually got an A because you saw the lesson. So I love my spirit team. But yeah, so I argued my point, but I allowed the underlined, I wouldn't say trauma because it's not trauma anymore. It went from trauma to grief. That underlying grief that I have on not having a partner, not having my person, not having, that other person. I'm on air all the time. There should be somebody sitting here with me. And I know some people are like, why does it have to be someone sitting there with you? For you, there may not need to be someone sitting there with you. But for me, from what I know, for what I want someone who is there with me, so it's just like, there's a grief and a wound and a hurt. I definitely do not miss my ex-husband. You understand? I miss the thought of having a husband there when our kid went to prom on Friday, and him taking pictures, I'm taking pictures, everybody's happy. And I always wanted a family like the Cosbys, the Cosby Show. And I don't know if that's going to ever happen. And that underlying grief is there too. So that's under that, and my friend, they were kind of just being them. And, they have stuff they need to work on. And I'm their catalyst and their trigger to show them where their holes are. And he's my catalyst to show me where my holes are, and I realized that I am still using old survival tactics in new situations. And that is a problem. You understand? That is a problem. Not to chastise myself, not to make me feel like shit, but that is a problem, And I realized that because for me, when I'm explaining something and we're in a conversation, and you take the conversation and start talking about something that has nothing to do with the conversation, but you want me to sit with you and go all around the world where it's bullshit, and I'm supposed to sit here and listen to that, I'm not doing that. And then because what you're trying in my brain yesterday, because remember I told you to stop yesterday, in my brain you're trying to manipulate me the same way my ex-husband was trying to manipulate me, not because you want to come to a resolution, but because you want to get out of the argument and without changing any behavior. That's what my brain process, or at least used to process, right? So Jaden goes to me, even though you know what they're going to say, because you're psychic and because you've done this before, he was like, you need to let them say what they feel like saying. You have to let them say what they need to say. And I looked at him, I was just like, even though I know it's bullshit, he was like, even though you know it's bullshit. And he was like, and then once they're finished, then you take the pieces that you heard and you explain to them again. And I'm just like, and I'm sitting there going, do you know how much time that's going to fucking take? And Jaden was just like, this is part of communication. And I was just like, you know what? You're right. And I tell you, you can learn from anyone. My son is brilliant. All my sons are brilliant. My friend is brilliant. You know, Michaela's brilliant. Everybody's brilliant. But anyway, I digress. So when I got downstairs yesterday, I sat with my spirit team and I was just like, okay, he's telling me I need to listen to people because I keep cutting people off. He's not the first person that told me that. Even at work, they're like, can I finish? And I'm like, no, what are you finishing for? You're explaining because I'm going to defend myself just a little bit right now, because what I find is people try to defend their dumb shit. Like, you're trying to defend yourself and explain to me why you're doing something I don't need you to do. You understand? You're trying to explain to me why you did something wrong. I don't care why you did it wrong. Just don't do it. You understand? I don't care why you did it. I don't need you to explain to me why you did it. I don't care. But now I've after the lesson yesterday, I told you I hate lesson days. After the lesson yesterday, I realized that I need to come up with a protocol. Because you know me, I came downstairs to the temple and I cleared there was a lot of shit that I had to clear out of myself. I cleared my space, I cleared me, and then I spoke to my spirit team to find out, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do about this interrupting thing? And they came up with a protocol. They were like, okay, they were like, if you have access to a paper and or a notebook and a pen, when they're talking, just write what they're talking. Like, listen to what they're saying. And when they say stuff, write the question down. Don't say it out loud. Don't say stuff out loud. And what I feel that they're trying to tell me is to use it like a classroom lecture, as into what they're saying, and you jot down the important information. So I was just like, my guy, what if I don't have a pen and a paper? Because if I'm in the heat of an argument or if I switch off, how do I do that? So they were like, okay, if you don't have access to and you can't pause to do that in your head, just watch their movie. You don't have to make them understand at that moment. You need to understand what they're saying and where their mind is at. Because I believe what I kept doing was trying to take them to what I'm saying, because I was the one who brought up the grievance. So you're over here with what you think, and I need you over here to understand what I think. It's not about compliance, it's about understanding. Because I feel if you understand, you'll comply. But if you don't understand, you're not going to comply with shit. And that's another survival mechanism, because that's how I think. If I don't understand, I'm going to keep asking you questions until I understand. I don't just do things because people tell me to do it. I'm grown, and I'm grown. You're not going to just tell me to do shit and I'm just going to do it like I'm a robot. We're not playing those games. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. So, but I'm learning because of yesterday that that's a survival mechanism. And not that I need to just drop it, because it's not a bad survival mechanism. It's just not in its proper place, functioning at the capacity that it should be. Does that make sense? All these survival mechanisms, like over attunement. There's a difference between attunement of others and over attunement. I had to get over the over attunement to others. But being attuned to what's going on in your surroundings, that's a superpower. That's not a flaw. But when it's out of place and not functioning properly, and it's functioning with a bunch of grief underneath it, it comes out horribly, and it disrupts relationships. Does that make sense? So, like I said, I wasn't sitting since 8 o'clock until 1 o'clock talking about, oh, he was wrong. I wanted to know what was going on with me. Like, why like I always tell you, you got to bring it inward. Even if the person was completely wrong, you have to bring it inward, which he wasn't. But it was really just bad communication. It was bad communication. It was bad listening skills on both ends, and it was needed. Like I told you yesterday, when I didn't post it, so I have it in the canon. I recorded yesterday. I don't argue for no reason. I argue because there's a reason to argue. I don't argue just because I'm angry. No, I might not be at my best if I am angry and we get into a disagreement or back and forth. But I don't. I every time I argue, it has to unlock another level for me, or it has to make me understand myself better, know what needs to be healed and cleared, and move higher. And I want it to happen for the person that I happen to be in a debate or an argument with, but that's not my place. That's another thing. I learned today, them understanding it's not my job. It is not my job to make, and the funny thing is, I made this video. It's not my job to convince you to understand what I'm saying. And I lost sight of that yesterday because I was angry. And I haven't been angry like that in a very long time, and I think I was out of practice, with arguing, because I don't argue with people. It's like I don't. Once the minute I start seeing that it's turned into an argument, I try my best to shut it down, And yesterday, for some reason, it wouldn't shut down, and I worried. I didn't like how we were talking to each other. I didn't like because no one was trying to understand the other person, me included. No one was trying to understand the other person. We were all seeing someone else instead of seeing us. Like, he was seeing family members and friends that hurt his feelings. I was seeing my ex-husband and my parents and my, other people who hurt my feelings. We weren't looking at each other. We were looking at our wounds. Our wounds were talking to each other. That's what was happening. We weren't talking to each other. Our wounds were talking to each other. And that's why I'm like, I need to find those wounds, find it, heal it, and get rid of it. So that's the road that I'm on right now. And like I said before, I jumped on here because I finished unpacking the majority of it. And I realized at the bottom of, and I don't even know if it's the bottom, I know at the level or layer that me and my spirit team stopped, there was sadness. There was just absolute sadness. There was sadness, there was loss, there was grief, there was exhaustion, there was so many layers that is just sitting there, and I'm looking around and there's different versions of me just sitting on the floor crying, because I thought something and it wasn't. I wanted something and I didn't get it. I don't know what it's like to have a partner. I don't know what it's like to not have to carry everything. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like not to make sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing and is on time for what they're supposed to be on time for. I'm a scheduler by trade. It's like I carry a lot of things, and including the healing of other people, because those are the gifts that were given to me, you know, and it's kind of like, who heals the healer? Who carries the person who takes care of everyone else? And I'm at a point right now where it's just, I can't fake it anymore. And I don't know if it's because the the level of giving and the level of my my mission is intensifying, and I'm getting in position, because that's how I'm just telling you what I'm feeling. I don't know if it's true, I don't know if it's right, but I'm just telling you how I'm feeling. I feel like they're positioning me, and it's like, and in being positioned, you have to I have to walk it like I talk it. I have to be right and be real and be true. I don't even need to be pretty. I just need to be true. I need to be right. I don't need to be perfect, but I need to be right. And that's why I told you, that's why I had to make this video, because if I didn't show you this, I would be fake. It would be a fake account. It would be just another fake creator who just gets on here and tells you what to do and acts like they're perfect and that they do nothing wrong. And oh no, not me. Mm-mm, not me. I am flawed. I am flawed. I am not excessively flawed, because I do work on my flaws. I work on my issues. I work on my triggers. I dig out what is happening, and I don't make it about the other person. Once I calm down, once I calm down, and I'm like, then I start to unpack it. Okay, Keish, what the fuck went on? Like, why were you triggered? What was this bringing up? Like, why, how can we make sure that this doesn't happen again? What do we have to clear out? What do we have to bring in? What is missing? What do you need? Are you tired? Do you need to stop? Like, all this, I bring it back to me. And I'm telling you my story so you can kind of pick out what you need, because I know I'm unique in a lot of ways, but I'm not fully unique when it comes to this. I know there are other people who are doing their healing work, who are practicing what they preach, who are healing other people, who are just like me, and they hit a bump, or they get into an argument, or they're like, yo, what the hell happened? How did this happen? I know that. So I'm here to tell you it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to just take time to unpack it. However you unpack it, I need you to unpack it. And when you unpack it, I need you to focus on you, not the other person. Not the other person. The other person is just the sandstorm that kicked up the dust. That's it. They're not the end all be all issue. They might be, you understand? They might be. You have to be careful too, because they might be kicking up that dust because you need to get rid of them. For me, that's not the case. You know, because it's not like my ex-husband, which was a systemic issue. It's not. It's just another wounded person getting into an argument with another wounded person, and no one's really listening. And one person has one set of communication skills and the other person doesn't. One person has a set of transformational skills and another person doesn't. You know, I'm a freaking Scorpio and an Aries and a Capricorn Sag moon. So transformation and elevation is like my battle cry. You know, so I pivot really fast. But when he kept telling me I'm trying, it made me hear what my ex used to say to me. And he would be like, I'm trying. And like I said, 18 years went by and it was still the same shit, you know, and I was like, I will not be manipulated again. But now I know this is not that, you know, and I have to keep digging a little bit, maybe not today because I'm very tired, but I do need to unpack a little bit more and see what happens after. Like what happens, what is the aftermath of this? How do I handle the aftermath of this? How do I move forward? But all that is going to come after my ginger lemon tea and after I close out this video. So I know this video is very long. um, I thought I was going to break it up, but I did not. So I love you guys. Stay up, stay blessed. Deuces, and I'm out.